Hello and welcome to Impact Tuition. We continue our discussion on the business environment. In this video, we will talk about the international environment and the Porter's Diamond, which is our model for analyzing the international environment to understand the factors that make one industry in a country better than the same industry in another country. We understood from our previous discussions that strategic management is a process and involves strategy, identification, selection, and implementation. So far, we've talked about strategy identification, which can also be termed strategic position. We've understood that strategic position has three key issues: purpose and expectation, the business environment, and the strategic capabilities. We have discussed purpose and expectation. We are talking about the business environment. Under the business environment, we've discussed the four layers: international layer, the macro, the industry, and the market, and the models for analyzing each of these. We have already discussed the Porter's 5 forces, PESTEL, and we are going to talk about the Porter's Diamond in this video. The market layer and the product life cycle will be our topic for discussion in later videos. The international environment. Businesses in some countries appear to enjoy a competitive advantage over businesses in other countries in particular industries. An example is the US, China, and Japan, which appear to enjoy an advantage in global markets for IT and communications products and services. Traditional economic theory states that a country inherits a comparative advantage over other countries in particular industries because of the natural resources that it has. Michael Porter, who is a Harvard professor, has a different view of this and challenged the traditional theory of comparative national advantage in his book, The Competitive Advantage of Nations. It is in this book that he put forward the Porter's Diamond. His argument was that the national domestic market plays an important role in creating competitive advantage for companies on a global scale. Companies operating in a strong domestic market can develop competitive strengths. They can then build on the strength of their home base to extend their business operations into other countries where their competitive advantage will apply and help them towards success. This was the argument Michael Porter put forward, and from this he put forward the Porter's Diamond. The Porter's Diamond will help us understand comparative competitive advantage on a global scale. Comparative competitive analysis of the factors that make one industry in a country better than the same industry in another country. Now, he made us understand that it is the ability to innovate that will help a country maintain their national supremacy in a particular industry. And then governments must also make an intentional effort to develop the elements in the diamond if the country is to have a comparative competitive advantage over other countries in the same industry. Now let's look at the Porter's Diamond. There are 4 elements in the Porter's Diamond, and each of these elements interact. This is how the diamond looks like. We have the firm strategy, structure and rivalry, demand conditions, related and supporting services, and favorable factor conditions. According to Porter, these are the factors that will make one industry in a country perform better or have a national competitive advantage over the same industry in another country. We will take our time and discuss each of the elements in the Porter's Diamond and how the elements give or how the elements help one country have a national competitive advantage over another country. We begin with the first one: favorable factor conditions. Factor conditions are basically about the factors of production. These are the economic factors of production: land, labor, capital, and raw materials. Some factor conditions in a national market might be favorable for companies operating in a particular industry and give them a strong national competitive advantage. There are two types of the factor conditions. We have the basic factors and the advanced factors. Now, the basic factors are those factors of production that exist naturally. For example, large amounts of suitable land for agriculture, as an example, large quantities of natural materials and resources, and a favorable climate. These basic factor conditions exist naturally. For the advanced factor conditions, these are created and developed over time. An example is labor, skills and knowledge, technological resources, and infrastructure. These do not exist naturally, but are created and developed over time. The factor conditions must be favorable, and if they are going to be favorable, much focus is laid on the advanced factor conditions. The second element in the Potter's diamond is related and supporting industries. These are industries that supports and facilitates the activities of the industry in question. Now, for example, if we are talking about the tourism industry, it is largely dependent on the transportation industry, because when tourists arrive in a country to visit the various tourist attraction sites, they depend largely on transportation. Now, if the transportation industry isn't well developed, road, rail, and air transport, it becomes difficult for the tourism industry to succeed. For the tourism industry, a well-developed transportation industry is key to the success of the tourism industry. Now, in a country where the related and supporting industries are well developed and competitive, costs are reduced, and innovation occurs continually. In many industries, innovation depends on research and development. So, for a particular industry to succeed, the research and development, which can be a related and supporting industry, has to be very active in order to come out with findings from their research, which can be used to improve the industry in question. Competitive benefits of an innovative supporting industry are greater when firms in the supporting industry are themselves strong competitors in global markets. From this, we can see that a well-developed supporting industry will help the industry in question to grow and attain global competitive advantage. The third element is the demand condition in the home market. Strong, sophisticated, and discerning demand in local markets can help to make local firms more competitive in global markets. If the local market has customers with very high quality expectations, it forces companies to produce products to very high quality standards to satisfy the local market. This creates a competitive advantage for the products in foreign markets, because the foreign markets know that the home country has a high demand for quality, and as a result, the products of the industries in that country are of very high quality, and this can position the industry in the foreign markets, giving them a competitive advantage. When local demand is strong, local firms will give more attention than their foreign competitors to the needs of the local customers. This will help to make local firms more innovative and competitive. When local firms sell their products in local markets, the innovation and competitiveness created in local markets will help them to succeed internationally. Innovation in local markets will help local firms to anticipate changes in global markets. The fourth element is the firm structure, strategy, and rivalry. Porter suggested that other factors that create national competitive advantage are the strategy of firms and their owners, the organization structure of firms, and the rivalry between local firms in the industry. Firm structure looks at how organized the players in the industry are in terms of organizational structure, ownership structure, etc. The strategy talks about either a long-term or short-term investment strategy. And the rivalry looks at the rivalry between local firms, which forces them to be innovative in finding ways to meet customer expectations better than their competitors. So this is a summary of all the four elements in the Porter's diamond. Now, the four elements in Porter's diamond are all important for creating national competitive advantage because they create the conditions that result in competitive advantage. There are two other factors that influence the national competitive advantage of countries. These are not part of the four elements in the Porter's diamond, but they influence these four elements in the Porter's diamond. They are chances and government actions. Now, chances are unforeseen events with either positive or negative impact on a country's competitive advantage. We will dwell more on government actions. These are actions that influence the four elements in the Porter's diamond, and they are deliberate on the part of government to improve upon the four factors in the element so that their countries can attain national competitive advantage status. An action of government to improve the elements can be creating an education and training system that develops appropriate labor skills and knowledge, enforcing strict production standards, creating early demand for new and advanced products by purchasing the products themselves, and then stimulating local rivalry. These are some of the things government can do, or these are government actions that will help influence the four elements in the Porter's diamond and thus put the country in a better position to have global dominance in certain industries. We will end our discussion by looking at some limitations of the Porter's diamond. The Porter's diamond is more relevant to companies in advanced economies than to companies in countries with developing economies. It does not consider the role of multinational company which locates production operations in different countries across the world. Having understood the four elements in the Porter's diamond, in an exam situation, we may be required to use the Porter's diamond to explain the global success of companies in a particular country, or we may be required to use the Porter's diamond to explain how an industry in one country performs better or has a global competitive advantage over the same industry in another country. To do this, you would need to consider the four factors in the diamond together with the influence of government actions. When discussing government actions, it is important to talk about the effects the government actions will have on the four elements in the diamond. First, discuss the elements in the diamond and then state how a government action will affect the elements in the diamond. So if, for example, the government has introduced improved improved education policies, directly we will know that the new education policy will help improve the advanced factor condition, specifically the training and knowledge of the workforce. If the government is enforcing strict production standards, it will affect the demand condition because the quality of the products will be improved. So this is how we use the Porter's diamond in an exam situation. Talk about each of the elements and how government action affects the elements in the diamond. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.